Complete training is available at itdvds.com.
Just like Windows Vista, Windows 7 comes with a few different editions, and depending on what edition we have, that allows us to use certain features and functionality. With Windows 7, we have Starter, Home Basic, Home Premium, Professional, Enterprise, and Ultimate. So it looks pretty similar to Windows Vista. Starter, that is basically the same. Chances are you're probably not going to see it. It's only in third world countries. Home Basic, this is where it gets a little bit different. With Windows Vista, Home Basic was prevalent in developed countries. But with Windows 7, it's only for emerging markets, so you're not going to see it in developed countries. Home Premium, this is going to be your main home operating system. So most likely, if someone has Windows 7 at home, they're going to be running Home Premium. Professional is going to be the edition that smaller companies are probably going to have. Any company that needs a domain that probably doesn't have a volume licensing agreement. If you do have a volume licensing agreement, you may choose to go with Professional, but most likely you're going to go with Enterprise because of the added features. And normally the companies that have access to volume licensing agreements are the larger companies. And then there's Ultimate. Just like with Windows Vista, Ultimate encompasses everything, and it can be for the home or for the business. So now let's take a look at some of the differences between the different editions, and I'm going to focus on Home Premium, Professional, Enterprise, and Ultimate. The first is end of support. So this is when you can no longer get support for Microsoft for your operating system. Now Home Premium is going to end in 2015. Professional is going to go to 2020, same with Enterprise, and Ultimate is also going to end in 2015. Maximum physical memory, and this is going to be in 64-bit mode. If we're running a 32-bit version of Windows 7, the maximum is going to be 4 gigs no matter what edition you have. But with 64-bit, if we can put 16 gigs of memory in a Home Premium desktop. So that's quite a bit as of the making of this movie that you can put in a home desktop. Now with Professional, Enterprise, and Ultimate, it gets huge. You can put 192 gigs of memory in that desktop operating system. All of them come with 32-bit and 64-bit editions. Physical CPUs supported. So with your Home Premium, you're only going to be allowed to use one physical CPU. Now we're talking about physical CPUs, not cores. Most processors we purchase today are dual core or possibly even quad core, and that's okay. We're talking physical CPUs. When you get up to Professional, Enterprise, and Ultimate, you can actually have 2 physical CPUs, and those physical CPUs can be dual or even quad core, so you can have possibly 8 logical CPUs. Backup and restore, the main difference is with the Home Edition, you can't back up to the network. Remote desktop, almost all operating systems can run the client remote desktop, but as far as being able to actually remote desktop to your Windows 7 machine, you're going to need Professional, Enterprise, or Ultimate to do that. And if you're not familiar with remote desktop, we're going to go over that later on. In fact, we're going to go over pretty much all of this later on in other movies. Some other differences are going to be dynamic disks. With the Home Edition, you're not going to be able to use dynamic disks. Again, if you're not familiar with it, that's okay. We're going to go over this later on. Encrypting file systems, this has to do with security, so the Home Edition, you cannot use encrypting file system, but Professional, Enterprise, Ultimate, you can. Same with location-aware printing, presentation mode, group policy, offline files and folders. Joining a domain, this is what I mentioned previously. Usually if you're working for some sort of company or you're at a company, you're going to be in a domain. And Windows XP mode, we're going to see that as well later on, but with the Home Edition you cannot use Windows XP mode. Now let's get into some differences between Home and Professional and Enterprise and Ultimate. So Aeroglass remoting, you're going to need Enterprise or Ultimate to be able to use that. Same with Windows Media Player, Multimedia Redirection, Audio Recording over Terminal Services, Multiple Display Terminal Services, Enterprise Search Scopes, Federated Search, App Locker. These next couple are going to be pretty important because they have to do with security, and if you're in a larger company, most likely you have a set of standards that you need to adhere to. So in order to use App Locker, you're really going to need Enterprise or Ultimate. With Professional, you can create policies, but you cannot enforce them. BitLocker drive encryption, same thing. You're going to need Enterprise or Ultimate. Branch cache, distribution cache, we're actually going to talk about this later on. And if you have to use a multilingual user interface pack, you're going to need Enterprise or Ultimate. And finally, something cool that we're going to actually see is virtual hard disk booting. So in order to do that, Enterprise or Ultimate. So those are the main differences between the different editions. And if you want to look this up, you can see it's on Wikipedia, wiki/Windows_7_editions.